So when your kid comes up and says, Dad, Mom, I want to start a business, do you stick them out in the front yard with a jug of lemonade and say, go get them? Or do you go into business? You see, if you're going to be present as a family, as a father, as a mother, as a family, you got to do it together. And if you're going to do it, let's do it. And we're going to talk about that. T.Shane Johnson is next. Well, the heat is on. Let's get cooking. This is Purpose Under Pressure. It's a podcast about people, business folk, regular folk, just like you and me. We're on purpose. We get up in the morning, we swing our legs out of bed, we put them on the floor, and we get after something. It's that why that drives us. And then those storms come up and those pressures rise and they try to knock us off our path. They try to knock us off our pace and maybe get us to do something a little differently than we originally wanted to do. That is pressure. We're on purpose, and that's what the show is all about. If you do like this show, thank you very much. I'm glad you're back. If you know someone that doesn't know about the show, please let them know. You can do that very easily just by giving them a text. That's the easy way. You can also give the show a thumbs up or a like or a follow or a subscribe. And we really do appreciate it. Purpose Under Pressure, as it has been these entire 7 seasons and 8 seasons now, brought to you by our friends at Sandler by the Ruby Group, serving sales professionals nationwide from their Akron and Columbus, Ohio locations. They're also in Jacksonville, Florida. And I'm now excited to tell you that they have expanded into upstate Capital Region, New York. It is sales training. It's business growth. They're doing it right. They're doing it on purpose. And they're the kind of company that if you're trying to grow your organization, grow revenue, build relationships, they're not going to take a shortcut. I mean, if that's what you're looking for, that's not Sandler by the Ruby Group. They're going to do it on purpose. They're going to do it with relationships, responsibility, and doing things the right way. So it'll do you good to give them a call and reach out. They are at rubygroup.sandler.com. My guest today, I'm excited for you to meet T.Shane Johnson. He's a Marine, which number one, that's in my book, just the most important thing of all the things we're going to talk about. But he is that. He's also an author, a public speaker, a coach, and an entrepreneur. He and his daughter, Charlie, they are the father-daughter duo behind Big Guns Coffee. And I'm excited for you to meet T.Shane Johnson. Welcome to Purpose Under Pressure.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you for having me.
I'm really glad you're here. This show is all about purpose. And I think from that introduction, you've got a lot of it. What makes you tick? What makes your company tick? What drives you? And we'll kind of take the show from there.
Oh, I think in life you go through a lot of different stages, right? And in those stages, you have different things that motivate you. I think few and far between do I find one thing that kind of stays true. When I first started out in my life, it was the Marine Corps and being a Marine and having the tradition of the spirit of the Corps and all of the guys and gals that I serve with. And you go through life, and you start to find that your service of people and you attract or attach yourself to other people that you can serve and be a part of to help stay your focus and drive. And now it's just really my daughter. It's her business and her vision and goals and dreams, and allowing myself to be of service to her and to the community and the people that get behind it. So I think the biggest thing that makes me tick right now is just getting behind and supporting her as much as possible.
So let's talk about that. Talk to me about your daughter. She is how old, and she is building a business, and why is all this happening? Give me some background.
Yeah, I apologize. I know she's supposed to be here today. She definitely delivered that a lot better than I am. So hopefully I don't get performance improvement plan written up on me for a bad presentation.
Yeah, she's going to be watching later.
She's watching. So she's 10 years old. She started this business when she was 6. A lot of people when they first meet Charlie, they kind of look at her as almost thinking that it's a novelty item, that a dad wanted to build a business, maybe utilize his daughter to kind of build some brand recognition. And we always love that. We talk about it all the time because, that does happen. And, when you meet Charlie, you start to kind of realize like, wait a minute, this kid actually does run the business and does understand what's going on and can answer the questions the right way. And, it was a culmination of a lot of things. I spent the last 15 years as a motivational speaker. I did a lot of programs for disabled veterans, homeless veterans. I myself was homeless for about 2 years and started doing these runs across America and these push-up world records and all these things to kind of raise awareness, but also help support companies on, a corporate social responsibility platform. It was just a great synergy to be able to take a thing that I needed to do and put it together with a company and help those that need it most. And over a course of 7-8 years of that, it kind of got to a point where I'd written a book called Done by 2:30, and the idea was teaching people to be better CEOs and executives of their home than they do their business. in the business world, just like as you mentioned that your sponsor, there's so many different programs and platforms out there to make you be connected to a complete stranger, right? And we just assume that when we have children, we get in relationships that because they are our blood or that we've committed an oath, of marriage forever, that communication just becomes easy, and that the way that we connect with them is just something that we should assume to do. Whereas in business, when we go out in a sales call, we're taught all these strategies, techniques, and platforms and ways to be able to get a consumer or understand that consumer or that customer and be able to find a way to have that barter exchange of value and income, and money. And I thought, it was weird to me that we don't do that at home, that there isn't really great platforms to allow us to have that effective communication on how do I speak to my daughter in a way that is a positive way? How do I speak to my partner that way? And, there's some sporadic books and things out there that you can read, but there's no real true platform. So done by 2:30, the idea was, she got out of school before 2:30. So I figured if I could teach sales reps, if I could teach people how to effectively accomplish their goals before 2:30, then we could start to teach them how to be better CEOs of their home. So, that way they're getting home and they're fully focused and they're not bringing work in and it's trickling in and they're causing all these issues and problems. And so I kind of finished up that book. There was a chapter about supporting your kids when they have visions and dreams at a certain age, because though we're very pretentious in our thought process of adults that we know everything, I really do believe that God or higher power put children at an age between 5 and 9 to remind us that dreams still can come true.
Mm.
And they're more there as teachers and we are students than the latter. So my daughter, I went downstairs and she had been on stage with me a bunch and been part of all these projects and things. And she says, "You know what, Dad, I want to start a business." And it's a lot like I want to do dance, or I want to play football, or I want to go join the basketball team. My daughter wanted to be a business owner. So, rather than throw it by the wayside and pretend that it wasn't important, I said, well, I'll tell you what, then just like in any business owner, you got to come up with your name and your logo. We'll start there. But do know that if we do this, you're going to be responsible for everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty much how it started. And 30 minutes later, we come back and it was Big Guns Coffee, and she'd written it down on a piece of paper, and here we are.
And so I've got 100 questions out of that, but I'm interested in this one. Why a business? So why did she say, I want to start a business? Do you know why? What was the drive behind that?
Yeah. Again, I wish she was here. She's better at answering those than me. So
That's
hope
okay.
I don't murder it. So I think, when she's been interviewed and asked this question, the way that she responds is that I wanted to do something different in the world. All of my friends did dance and gymnastics and all of these things. And she says, I understand the value of business. She said, my favorite part about what I do, and again, in a business conversation, she says, is to sell. I love to be able to go in and sit down and communicate with people and find a way to bring value. And this is how she says it, bring value to someone in an exchange, we build a relationship. And she's understood, walking the floor. She's understood making those connections and shaking hands and, looking in your eye and staying connected. And she loves it. She loves that part of it. She's very intrigued with that. And she says, I love being able to build something and to provide for people, jobs, or, for them to be able to buy a house one day or build a business. And it's just something she attracted to.
So, and I want to talk about the company, but I'm interested in this track that we're on. Where do you think that comes from? Here, let me give you a little background. I've got 3 fairly grown kids of my own. They're all 3 very different. They're all 3 successful in doing things. I tend to think that I had nothing to do with it because they're all very different. And I tend to think that just giving them the right platform allowed them to be who they are. I believe that kids are good, but in this generation, we all don't end up starting our own business as kids. Like, things are a little bit funky in the world right now. Where do you think her drive came from? Is that from you? Is it just you allowing it to grow? But what advice, perhaps even for parents that are, by 2:30, what would you tell people? Like, where does that come from?
Well, I think that comes from a lot of pain. I mean,
Hmm.
I'd love to say that there's this, when you become an entrepreneur, a business owner, or you go through things. I mean, you're basically committing to a lifelong of rejection and pain. I mean, I don't care what anybody says. I mean, you can put lipstick on a pig if you want to, but the reality of it is,
It's
it's a tough
hard.
world. I mean, every
Yeah.
day you wake up wanting to quit. You've got to have a certain type of tenacity about you. I think the thing is life. You dig back into my story. I died and came back to life, and I think that's what gives me the competitive advantage. And my daughter that as well, is that understanding that we all end in the same place. It's just a matter of how you want to live that time that you have while you're here. So you can live it in complacency. You can live it in the simplest forms of just kind of going through and enjoying life and working a regular job. And there's nothing wrong with that. Again, it's your choice. That's what free will is. That's the best part about it. I think ultimately, I chose to live a path that was constantly on the edge, just because I know that we all end in the same place. We're all going to stand in the same line. We're all going to be looking at each other and be like, all right, well, what's next? But I kind of want to look back and say, well, um, I've been given this amazing life, a second chance at this amazing life. What kind of person would I be that's been blessed with that second chance of life if I didn't take every advantage and opportunity that I could about it? And as a motivational speaker, mind you, you asked me that question about where that comes from. I mean, my daughter's been on stage with me. She's heard me tell my story 1,000 times. She's been a part of it. And I speak to her as such. When we have conversations about life, I always tell her, look, you can be anything you want to be. You don't have to run a business. But the reality of it is that there is not one platform from the time you're born to the time that you get out of college that teaches you interpersonal skills, that teaches you the ability to effectively communicate, that teach you to sell, which everyone's so scared of.
Yeah.
But you're going to do it, and you have to do it no matter whether you like it or not. If you can perfect those skills, it'll allow you to choose the things that you want to do, but negotiate terms on your behalf in the right way, so that way you're not just taking things out of desperation. When we have those kind of think tank conversations like that, we joke about it all the time that my truck has probably got the most knowledge ever between the two of us, because we just sit in there on our drives and going back and forth, and we have those conversations. And I think it's large part of me encouraging that, age isn't a number that matters, right? If she wants to build a business, then she has to understand that responsibility comes with that too. But we're really just trying to bridge that gap. That's really the key thing is how do we bridge that gap of time to allow her to spend her life in a more flourished, happy, excited way, versus then going through all these trials and tribulations at the end and maybe having just a small window of opportunity to enjoy it.
The amazing thing I hear in there is that in my head, I'm hearing that you're present. You're present with your daughter while she's growing up, and you're sharing your experiences over your life. I think if every or more fathers and mothers could be present, they all haven't come back to life. They all don't hold the world's push-up world record. They all weren't Marines. They all weren't on stage. But we've all got experience. We've all got something that's allowed us to be where we are today. And we should share that with our kids instead of letting them sit in front of the TV and learn it from somebody else. And so I really appreciate that. I want to talk a little bit about the business. I want to hear about Big Guns Coffee. I want to hear about the success. But then I want to dive into some of the pain, because I imagine for you, it's like, hey, go, go, go. I understand failure. I've been there before. We're going to make it through. But for your daughter, maybe it's not so easy to overcome the no rejections and things of that. So tell me what's good about Big Guns Coffee. Give me a little story, but then we're going to dive into the real story behind the scenes.
Yeah, I mean, on the surface level, obviously, we've built the first indoor hydroponic coffee farm in the United States, which is the most innovative approach to coffee ever. It's starting to create a paradigm shift in the way things are viewed as far as coffee growth is concerned here in America. We launch next month in Sprouts and Walmart, and combined of over 900 retail grocery storefronts across the nation. We've done that in about 2 years, from the time that we actually decided to pivot into that CPG kind of mass retail big box world. Up until that point, we were a small little cafe in a small town with a little mobile trailer out at an equestrian center here locally. And, so we've experienced some rapid and very fast and fun growth. And it's continuing to rise, and we're laying the foundation for franchising out our farms, hopefully expanding the overall brand and developing it into something that, our plan is a potential exit, to allow us to be able to, if my daughter wants to run and do it on her own, great. But if she wants to live her life, great. And, and allow me to kind of live my life a little bit.
So you said it already. You said that this isn't a marketing scheme. This is her business. Is all this growth coming from her? Is she the one that's charging all this stuff? Or are you kind of pushing her a little bit and saying, come on, we ought to do this?
Looking at the typical salesperson, everything they do day in and day out, if we simplify all of that and really boil it down, they have two superpowers. First superpower that salespeople have is how they behave. Second superpower they have is what they say. As a seller, we only have two problems. We either said something or did something that we should not have said or done, or we didn't say something or do something that we should have said or done.
Is all this growth coming from her? Is she the one that's charging all this stuff, or are you kind of pushing her a little bit and saying, "Come on, we got to do this"?
Man, I swear to God, I wish I could get it until you meet her, and then right now I'm just it's a pitch, right? But I
Mm.
laugh. I not laugh at you. I laugh internally because I know for a fact, the Walmart account. I didn't sell that account. That was Charlie. So we had a meeting with Walmart. It was a 20-minute meeting. We went in, and I sat to the side, and she did the presentation to the buyer. Sprouts was the same way. That was a virtual pitch that she did on the screen. She does 95% of the conversation. The only time that I kind of jump in is if it gets a little systematic, or if for some reason she just has an off day and she needs me to just kind of double dutch in and pick it up, because we all have them. But she's pretty fine tuned. I'll give you an example. We went to Reno a couple of weeks ago for CNS Wholesalers independent show for their retail customers, and it was a long day travel wise. We finally get there, get situated, and then she gets sick on top of it. And we only had, I think it was 3 days to be there. So the first day we get there, she was kind of fighting through it. And the second day, she just couldn't do it. Well, everybody was expecting to meet Charlie. There were over 800 vendors there. Everybody knew who she was. Everyone wanted to come and meet the little 10-year-old CEO of Big Guns Coffee. And it was the roughest day for me because, I'm sitting there all day and everyone's like, "Where's Charlie? Where's Charlie? Where's Charlie? Where's Charlie?" And I'm like, she's not feeling well. Luckily, it was just like a little 24-hour bug. And she was so upset. She was texting me like, "Is anybody come down there? How are we doing on sales?" It was hilarious.
Wow.
And so I said, "Well, how you feeling? How you feeling?" So we got her medicine, got her situation. Woke up the next day. She's a little stuffy, but she was feeling good. She goes, "I don't care. I'm coming down to the floor today. I've got to meet these people. I can't just miss this whole thing." And I was just blown away. So mind you, now I like to consider myself a decent salesperson, but we had made zero sales up until that point. So we get down and we're sitting there, and it was just kind of the way we were situated. It was a little dead. The show wasn't as big as we thought it was going to be. And I don't, sometimes some of the simplest things we just don't think of. And I think I was just out of it as a dad, just trying to think of that thing. And she grabs a bunch of the flyers and she says, "I'm going to go work the floor. I'll be back in a little bit."
Nuh-uh.
And
No, she
I was
didn't.
like, and sometimes in those moments, I'll think to myself like, well, yeah, and then I go, "All right, well, it's your business. You do your thing." I pull back from it and allow her to make that decision and trust in that decision. It was I'd say 4 hours later, we were up $12,347 in sales. And there was just groups of people coming over, shaking my hand, being like, "It's amazing what you've done with her." She had people around her. She's selling her story, doing stuff. So, I mean, it really is her that puts in the work and puts in the stuff. I mean, she loves that part of it. Obviously, the operational side, of managing everything, I teach her, but that's a little bit more my department.
Yeah. And so where do things, it sounds great, but I know in every single business, the first 2 to 3 years, first 15 years is really, really hard. Where has it gotten tough? Where have the pressures come along that said, maybe you ought to cut back on this, or maybe this hydroponic thing isn't going to work? Like where's the pressures rise, and how did you kind of tell me those stories?
Well, it's all of it. I mean, we're a 2-person show with a multi-million-dollar growing organization. I'll tell you, just in a week alone, how much adversity we've had to overcome. We are in a small town. In our small town, we had to pull in our roaster, a bigger roaster in our little cafe. And we had to meet Sprouts' order of 11,587 bags in about 3 weeks, which is something we've never done before. And so we pulled in a roaster. My landlord built everything, put it in for us in this little cafe. We got to roasting, started to put it together. And then the town came to us. There's a developer there that's trying to shut down a lot of the small businesses. Town came to us and issued a cease and desist for us to stop roasting in less than 30 days. And shut our business down right on Main Street, saying that roasting coffee is a manufacturing process on Main Street and can't happen. And now we've got 900 stores we have to deliver product to, 3 weeks to do it with a 4-week deadline now on top of that 3 weeks to get it all accomplished and done. And if they shut us down, it would kill our whole business. Actually, I've got 8 days left to finish it up, and I still have to find a place to relocate. and figure out how to take the adjustment of income, because our lease was so good and secured that now we've got to find a new place. And the only places we can find around here are commercial build outs that are going to be substantially more than what we're paying now. We had, everything was running smooth up until that point. We got kicked with that one. On our Sprouts order that we sent out, I totally forgot to put Best Buy dates on the products. We sent out 11,000 plus bags without Best Buy dates, and they almost dumped the whole inventory. And we almost went out almost on our entire business savings that we put together to put the project out.
Wow.
So we ended up, they worked with us. So they were really great, by the way. They were really great. They worked with us, found a company to go to each one of the distribution centers and put the Best Buy dates on it. But the cost of the company ate into every single bit of our profit.
Of course.
So we literally built we did all that work, put everything, got people in, did everything, and made absolutely zero on it for what could be the potential launch for Sprouts. Set aside just the bandwidth, our farm, trying to manage our farm and growth. We were recently featured on Fox Business. So over the weekend, I received 400 online orders that we've been trying to get through. And then we've got a Shark Tank audition next month that we're going on. And, with our press releases and things that are going out with all of the stuff that people are really enjoying that we're doing, it's a little overwhelming. On top of, just wrapping up homeschool, having a quality life, making sure that my daughter does understand that she still is 10. And then, and I understand that. That's just a few of the very exciting challenges of running a small business that everybody doesn't see.
So with all that going on, I have to assume that you, especially as a father and as a Marine, there's a North Star that you're pointing at that has to be helping you make these decisions. When you get on Shark Tank, you're going to blow things up and it's going to be really hard. And if you get on QVC or if you go into Walmart, I mean, people are going to want all these things. You're going to have to ramp up and your daughter's going to be like, yeah, let's go. And you're going to be like, hold on, the family first or whatever it might be. Like, what is that North Star that you just won't let go of no matter what happens in the business?
Well, I think the reason why we built this business is so that we could be together. So that's the rub, right? Is that no matter what the decisions are made, or whether my daughter's here or not, I'm still talking about her. She's still a part of my life. It's not like in some businesses where you run and your children are non-existent. They're not topic of conversation. In this, it is a topic of conversation because these platforms, being able to have the opportunity to share with your listeners and your platform allows the legacy of my daughter to continue to grow and people to support her. And at the end of the day, it's really what it's all about. I mean, look, we all have challenges. That's why what your podcast is built on, right? Like, I mean, we go through all of these really tough things. For me, it's knowing that my daughter will have an opportunity to be able to have a viable business that will employ people, make an impact in the community, and build something great. My time's over. I mean, I was injured so bad. My injuries are so bad. I'm not even supposed to be functioning. I'm 100% disabled veteran. I only have 30% use of my right hand, 40% use of my lungs. My health is getting worse and worse as I get older. I'm probably knocked 25 years off of my regular life with everything that happened. So I know that, this isn't going to be a long-term thing for me, but I know that it will put my daughter in a situation to be able to choose a life that she wishes and not out of always desperation and pain. So I just keep holding on to that. And I'm just too hard-headed. You just keep going. It sucks, but what am I going to go do? Work for somebody else? Like, that's not going to work, So I just get up each day and take the challenge. And, I will say I probably am the world's worst motivational speaker because my
That's
daughter,
a good title.
Yeah, right.
Put
I'm
that
the
on your website.
the motivational speaker. Yeah.
The
yeah.
world's call me the world's worst.
That's right. So hire me today to crush all your employees' dreams and hopes.
I'll charge less than the good guy.
Yeah. My daughter says to me, when we had all that happen last week, riding in the truck.
Yeah.
And she says, Dad, this must mean something really good's going to happen.
Wow.
And I thought, holy cow, like this kid's a freaking genius, and I felt like it was a lesson I should have taught her. And I realized that she just smacked me right in the face with it. And she was like, anytime we go through struggle, there's always a positive thing that happens. So if it's this bad, that must mean something really good's coming our way. And I took it and I said, you know what? You're right. Something good is going to happen.
Yeah. Just and we haven't talked about it much, but the idea that the injuries that you sustained and coming back, I mean, how much of that contributes? Can you talk about that a little bit? And then how much of that contributes to your hard-headedness and the fact that you've overcome all of that? And it feels like that's where your daughter, when she's in the truck with you, that's what she's thinking about. Like those terrible things that happened to you have turned into something good.
Oh yeah, I mean, that takes a lot of therapy and a lot of years of
Yeah,
conversation.
I guess. Yeah.
I say that in the sense that I still haven't worked through all of that yet. I think for me, the best way to explain it is that when you serve with guys that died and didn't come back, or are in a bad spot, or came back and then died and went through the challenges they went through, and then you're the one alive, you're kind of question you don't kind of you question it a lot. I still question it a lot, and I wonder, well, what is it I'm supposed to do? And am I living up to the expectations to be worthy of a second chance of life for so many that didn't? So as much as I'd love to play on a positive side of it, I think it just comes with a tremendous amount of guilt. The fact that when you get a second chance at life, God, taps you on the shoulder and says, "Okay, you can live," when there are so many that didn't. I personally, I can't speak for other people, feel obligated to kind of pay that debt back through all the things I do. So people look at it. I think that's probably why people are so like, you want more stuff in your title, or isn't that so crazy what you've done and whatever. And I kind of, in my head, when the lights go off and I'm sitting at home, my thoughts are like, I see how people see that, but for me, it's just another notch of the payment, that I owe. So I'm just trying to chunk away that as much as possible. So it's, I do what I do because I was fortunate to be given an opportunity to be here, to be blessed with this amazing person as my business partner, and I'm grateful for that. So I can complain, but that doesn't mean I'm going to stop.
T.Shane, at this part of the show, I typically ask, what are you afraid of? What are the hurdles that are coming? Things of that sort. And I'm not going to ask that now because I don't think it's a fair question. I am interested. Another thing I like to ask folks, what does success look like? So 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line, you look back at all the effort and all the things that went through and all the trials and overcoming the adversity and building something successful and doing something successful. What's the definition of success? What had to happen that you're glad you did this with your daughter?
Yeah, we talk about that. So one of the first things we did when we decided to do this after we named it is we wrote a check in advance, right? So we went ahead and utilized that. That's a strategy, a lot of people is pretty well known. And we put a date on that check for the end to determine this is our exit and our end game. And we have those conversations all the time. We'll ride around the truck and she'll say, and it's kind of like a game. She'll say the exit number. She'll say, "Okay, today we got the exit number. What do we do? What's the first thing we do?" And we always practice that because I think too many times we practice all the things that go wrong that we don't practice as well as good, right? It's like in sales, we're so good at overcoming objections, but we falter when it comes to the yes. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, I don't know what to do now. They said
Yeah.
yes. So we try to focus on the yes portion of that. And she'll ask me, "Well, what do you want?" And of course, we have our tangible things that we want, some land and some freedom and a dog and just little simple things. And then she'll say, "Well, what do you want from me?" And I'm like, "I want you to always be sore from laughter." Like, money isn't everything, but it's right up there with oxygen, as Zig Ziglar says. It's a pretty important thing, and it can allow you the freedom to do a lot of really great things. I'm like, but I don't want us to not do this and you not laugh all the time. I think it's a shame. Somebody asked me the other day about, I was on a veteran podcast, and someone was like, "How do you think, people should pay respect to veterans?" And I was like, just be the American worth fighting for. Like, just live, laugh, and have fun. I don't care if you join or you don't join. All I care about is, are you living the life that so many people died for? That's all I really care about. Like, are you having fun? I don't need to thank you. I just want to know, are you loving your wife as much as possible, your kids as much as possible? Are you loving your husband as much as possible? Are you spend as much time with your kids as possible? Because that's what it's all for. So the end of this is really just bridging the gap as quickly as possible to allow my daughter just to live the best life she can. Because as I know very well, it's extremely short. So that's success to me. Of course, we have our physical dollar number, which you have to have, but ultimately, I just want her to laugh. I want her stomach to be hurting all the time from so much laughter.
Tremendous. I love that. I love the fact that you have those goals, that you've had those conversations. I think this is a business type podcast, but this is more about, and sometimes we forget how important business is to family and vice versa. I mean, it all goes together. And I really love that you're bringing that in to your business and to your family with her as the top goal. If someone wanted to reach out and learn more about Big Guns Coffee, about you, T.Shane, as motivational speaker and author and things of that sort, put me in touch with you. How do people find you?
Yes, sir. So website's biggunscoffee.com or tshaneinspires.com. And all of our social media handles are at T.Shane Johnson or at Big Guns Coffee.
Tremendous. Thank you so much. T.Shane, we hadn't met. Most of my customers and my guests I've talked to at some point, and I didn't really completely know what to expect. I knew enough about your background. I will tell you this, you can't put a man's character on a website. I
Yes,
did
sir.
not anticipate this conversation, and I'm really glad that we had it, and I thank you very much. I say this to every veteran that I have on the show, and there's been plenty. I made the choice when I was younger not to serve, and I wish I could change that, but I can't. And I thank you so much for doing it in my absence. That's the best that I can tell you, is that I appreciate everything you've done for our country.
Oh, yes, sir. Well, we all serve in different ways. So
Yeah.
serving humans in any capacity that you can to make people better is service of itself. It doesn't have to be military service, but we're grateful for that. So thank you.
Good luck to you, sir, and to your daughter. I really am looking forward to great things.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
That's T.Shane Johnson. He and his daughter, Charlie Johnson, the owners of Big Guns Coffee. And I'm so proud that they were our guests on Purpose Under Pressure today, brought to you by Sandler by the Ruby Group. Sellers are under pressure to perform, and Sandler helps you to succeed on purpose. You're going to find all past episodes, 7 seasons worth of Purpose Under Pressure at brianmediastrategies.com/podcast and wherever you stream your favorite shows. We do this every week, and we will see you next time on Purpose.